Hi there, folks. It's March the 29th, 2025 at 6:34. I just got back from eating a, a cheap dinner. And I thought of something. I was so proud. I was awake all night last night because I didn't pay off my credit cards and didn't know if I had enough money in there. I want to tell you how I paid off all my credit cards and am now currently debt free. Do you want to know how to become debt free? Well, I, the real Jim Wortham. Some people call me Slick Jimmy, Jim Bob, Jimmy of Madison. But some people just call me Jim. Don't call me James, that's when I'm in trouble. When someone addresses me by James. Okay, so I get up, I checked my credit union. My credit union's what I get so scared in. I forgot I hadn't taken anything out for 3 months. And I thought I better call the credit cards here and get them all paid up. I paid them all up and had 1,000 left over. Well, we got to go back to 2008 and 9 when I was bankrupt, but not on paper. But let's go before that. When I was 23 or 24, I was buying a new Ford Thunderbird every year to impress girls that I never could find to date me. They kept putting what I owed on top of the other loan for the next Thunderbird. I had to change colors every time. We had to be slick and cool. Anything to try to get a date. What year are we talking about? Let's see, I graduated from college, the first college, in 1971, Western Kentucky University. That's when I started buying cars. And I don't want to go into the other colleges that kicked me out and I re-entered or changed colleges, and we're not going to talk about that one today. We're not talking about education. We're talking about getting your bills paid off. So I went bankrupt. I went bankrupt in my 20s. You can tell that's been a few years if you look at my beard. And they said it takes 7 years to get your credit back. I got it back in about 2 years. I got a couple of prepaid credit cards issued by banks and up my rating up to where I finally got it to the highest rating possible minus maybe 5 points. Tell you a true story. I was buying something. Oh yeah, I was buying a new car. I had everything paid off because I went bankrupt. But 3 years later, I had Class A rating, and I went to buy a car at Liberty National Bank. It's been changed to a different bank name, PNC. But I remember going, and then they said, "My God, you got better credit than anyone else in here. Yeah, we'll give you the lowest rate on your car." And then we wrote it all up, and I got a phone call the next day. Since since it was still under the name Liberty National Bank, they had a rule that said, if you ever went bankrupt on us, we will not give you another loan, no matter how high your credit score gets. They turned down Thornton's gas station. He had become a multimillionaire since he went bankrupt with them. They wouldn't give him a loan either. And of course, he was at the time expanding all over Kentucky. And he thought, well, I've done business with Liberty National before, but they said, no, no, I don't care how many $1,000,000 you got. That doesn't impress us. What impresses us is you went bankrupt on us for a few $1,000s. So that's the beginning of my tale tonight. Now, having said that, I want you to know that that wasn't the end of my financial problems. I'm going to fast speed to make this short. I went through numerous college programs till I became a psychologist. Set up two counseling centers in my own name. And then there was a downfall of I was heavily paid money to see people with any kind of addiction, including gambling addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, heroin addiction, you name it. And it went on for about 8 years, and then they stopped because they decided to keep the money for themselves. They cut it from private individuals like myself and decided to give it to community mental health facilities. So I went down to zero. I had to let everybody go, move out of the offices, and I owed Wait a minute, I can't tell you how much I owed because I was paying $1,200 a month in interest loans, $1,200 a month. And I had my secretary call every Monday and see if each of the 11 credit cards would lower it a little bit because I was overpaying the minimum by quite a bit, maybe double, triple what the minimum was. The only company that came down was American Express. I had 2 cards by them. And this is like doing surgery on yourself when you take all the money you've ever earned since that bankruptcy, every dollar I had earned, and paid off every single debt. It wasn't just the $1,200 or so dollars interest each month. That was just the interest. I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars I owed because I had ads in about 5 different counties, full-page ads, 2 full-page ads, 1 for alcohol only and 1 for drugs only. And I had to pay for that for a year in all those counties, which I did. I had banks. You can imagine how much bank money I had. I came home every day from work. And let me tell you what, my mailbox was full of attorney letters offering to do bankruptcy proceedings for me. That is the honest to goodness truth. Can you imagine working all day and then when you get home, you you think it's going to be a bunch of fan letters because I used to make a living writing poetry books. That that's how they came. Big bundle. This was bankruptcy attorneys. No fan letters. It was hard to do. I took every cent out of my savings, which was my retirement, and paid every one of those daggone banks off. I could either keep paying interest, which was worthless because I wasn't going to hit the principal, the amount that I actually owed. So I said, okay, we got to start over. I was not a young dude then. Let me tell you, I wasn't young. I had 2 counseling centers, one in Carrollton, Kentucky, and one over here in Madison, Indiana. No other counselors sharing rent with me, but I had secretaries that I had to pay. Sometimes I didn't have money to pay them. I went over and took a credit card, and I used that credit card to get credit cards to pay them. You know how you can get prepaid credit cards, say $300. You can charge it to a credit card that you have. Well, I had secretaries, and I paid them by credit card so they could get paid that day. They never missed a paycheck. It was just done in a different fashion, not as a check, but as a credit card. Well, I thought about living on the street. So what's that going to be like? I thought about filing bankruptcy, but I swear the only reason I didn't, I don't want to swear, is because I already went bankruptcy once, and I wasn't going to do it again. I promised myself I wasn't going to do it again. I could have, by far. Diet Coke here. And what happened is it took my retirement money to pay off each and every card. And it was like doing surgery on myself. It was like I had a butcher knife and I was just cutting myself and taking all my organs out and giving it to them. That's what it felt like. Not that graphic. It was more like I'm doing surgery on myself. I don't know if I can do it. Paid every one of them off. It took maybe 3 months to get all the money in and paid off. Well, I restricted myself, started saving. 2008, that happened in 2008 and 9 during the Great Recession, and people's stock went down 40%, 50%, depending on what they owed. Maybe they lost everything. I don't know. I lost everything on several stocks I owned. I won't name them, but one was Irwin National Bank, IRWIN National Bank in Columbus, Indiana. That was the official bank that Cummins engine used, and was highly recommended by the president of that company. Oh no, it was a controller. They call them controllers. What they are, they're the people that take care of the finances and who they're going to bank with. Okay, now, having said that, I watched the stock go down 30, 20, 10, got down to about a few cents. I said, man, I'm going to become a multimillionaire. Didn't have much money, but I had enough money to buy a lot of shares, and it went below a penny a share. Okay. Well, while this is going on, I'm buying other stocks like Ford for 95 cents and Circuit City for 33 cents, and anything that was below a dollar, I borrowed money and invested. And Irwin National Bank ended up another company overnight. I lost every single penny. I just mentioned that as one example of what was going on in 2008. And I was scared to death. I was borrowing money to go back in the stock market after completely taking myself out of the stock market. I was borrowing the money, and the more money I borrowed, the stocks were going up. About 2009, stock market's going up, and I went ahead and went on margin account. That's when you borrow money from your brokerage account. If you had $500 in there, they'd give you $500 margin. But I think you had to have a couple $1,000s in there before they would call it a margin account where you could do that. So I was scared. Thanks. I was buying and selling the same stocks a couple times a day because they were moving up so fast after 2009. I think I better sell it because it could go back down. Let's use Ford for example. Let's say it was 33 cents. It goes up to 60 cents. Let's sell that sucker and lock in the profit. Then it goes up to 95 cents. Well, daggone, let's rebuy it. It's on the way up. Now, that's how I was doing with every stock that I had. And I had some good stocks. Harley Davidson, I'll never forget selling it. Bank of America, 95 cents. I really believe I bought Bank of America at 95 cents. I won't even look at what it sells for now. If I'd have bought enough of it, I'd probably be a multimillionaire. Harley Davidson goes up to $3. It may have been $3. That might have been the only one I broke my rule of $1 or less. It could have been Harley Davidson. Well, that thing skyrockets. So what happens here is that after about 2 years, instead of being homeless, I said, this ain't going to happen again. I had made enough money from the stock market going up from 2009 on up that I paid off the house, paid off everything I had. Was I smart enough to stay that way? No. I had been a book publisher once, and I was going to make $1 million publishing a couple people's books that had been top sellers. The only thing I didn't know was their publishers weren't excited about the recent sales of their books, so they weren't going to re-sign and republish any books by these authors. So I'm sitting here thinking, if I can talk these authors into publishing with me, an unknown publisher, but I've been publishing my own books since 1969 as a self-publisher. If I could convince them to go give me a try, we'll go to the trade shows, the book trade shows. So I'll be a millionaire in a year, if not more than a millionaire. But I didn't just do books for them. We made audio CDs. We went to trade shows. All because I got my credit cards back and they gave me the highest rating. My credit cards from when I was in my 20s were at the highest scores now because they were all paid off. No deficiencies. So I put everything on the credit card. I would give book publishers my credit card for Amazon Express. I'd give the CD companies, DV companies, my credit card. Say, just charge what you do to that. Isn't that being faithful? Or would it be trusting? I'm not going to use the other word. It could be. Well, about that time, my health starts breaking down a little bit. I still go to the shows. They weren't profitable. The books were considered, and CDs were considered 1 year old because it took so long for the book printers to print the books and the CD duplicators to do that it was a new year. And mine was considered an old book, and at book conventions, they want the book for the next year starting January. Yeah. Mine was a year behind. No sales. Other than personal, one-to-one sales that the author made. So here we go. I go back to work again as a counselor. Lost all my money, much of the money in book publishing. And somehow I worked myself to death as an alcohol and drug counselor, and gambling counselor. Not that I gambled, I tried to get people from counseling. From gambling too much. And didn't know anybody. I think I paid those bills off. I was raking in a little bit of money, quite a bit of money, because no one wanted to touch addictions. And we had a lot of counseling centers, but none of them wanted to touch addictions. So the state of Indiana was willing to pay me a tremendous amount of money to see people with addictions. So us sailing well. And then all that quit because they decided that addictions weren't as bad as they thought and could be handled by the community mental health facilities, which we had 2 or 3. We had a also a mentally ill hospital here, and about 3 jails and prisons. So you got the picture here. If you get caught for certain crimes, you went to the prison. If you it was a low-level prison, mostly for women, totally for women. The 2 jails were for men. I think one of them, the newest one, is now considered a minimum security prison. I'm not sure because I'm out of it now. I'm out of it. All I do now is try to help people free. I am still licensed. I'm not going to brag about that. I could tell you what they were, what the licenses were. And I don't, if they call and it's short term, they pay nothing. There's only one person that I see that's homebound that gets charged anything. My view is that I've been treated so well that it's all come back. I don't know what the future will bring. I do know, and I can promise you this right now, before I went to eat today, I paid off the balance on any credit card I had and still had $1,000 in my not bank account but credit union. What I gave the waitress $20. She was lovely. Pearls around her neck, beautifully dressed. She says, "I work for my dad. You don't have to tip here. My dad owns this restaurant." I said, "Well, let me tell you something. I used to only tip $1 and rush out of a restaurant before they could say anything years ago." I said, "Now I've increased the minimum to $10 where I eat if I know that if the person served me before, but never lower than 7. But I said, "You've given some special service tonight. But you don't have to tip me," she says. I said, "The only way you're going to get me," and then she slaps the money down. I don't know if I gave her $10 or $15. She slaps the money down, the tip. I said, "I ain't leaving till you put that back in your pocket." She says, "You're a difficult man to deal with." And I said, "You're not the first person that's told me that." So that's the story. There's a lot of stuff I'm sure if I was to play this back I would add. But that's the story. And it's twofold. Don't be afraid to overpay a tip. It's going to come back or to help somebody. It's going to come back in a different way. It won't come back from that person. I don't care what you do for that person. What you give is going to come back but it won't be that day and it won't be that person. It'll be when you're in need. The second thing is I don't know. I think God was with me. Whatever that means to you. I want to thank you for joining me. The only reason why I do this, because I ain't making a penny or a fourth of a penny. Someone told me if I said something that would help someone, if only one person was helped, it'd be worth it. If you like this video, you can either see, you can hit the subscription button and the like button. If you don't like it, don't hit either one. Okay, I'm going to try to put something on most days. The only reason I thought about this is that beautiful girl that waited on me when I ate a few hours ago. God bless you all.